His son is a true freshman on Notre Dame. And what a ride it has been. They are in the national championship game, which is going to be played on Monday. So a little less than a week now from a national championship game. Brian Urlacher joins us, Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. Congratulations on a great year. What's that been like for you?
Man, it's been a whirlwind. All we do is travel every weekend. With this, the playoffs have been crazy because they went from the first game was in South Bend, then we went to, oh man, where was the next one? I don't even know. And then it was New Orleans. Miami. It was New Orleans and Miami, and now we go to Atlanta next week. It's been fun, man. It's just been since they got beat by NIU, every game's been a playoff game for them.
I was going to ask you that, Brian.
Game, yeah.
That could you have ever imagined after they lost to NIU that this would be the journey that they'd go on?
Well, it was. We all was at that game. It was just. I've never seen a stadium like that in my life. It was so disappointing and so demoralizing. But everything was still in front of them. Obviously, I told Marcus, I said, "Hey, man, you can still accomplish every goal you wanted to accomplish this year, except going undefeated." So, right. Just put your heads down, go back to work, and they're so prepared every game. Marcus has done a great job of getting them ready to play. Their defense is unbelievable, and then Riley Leonard's really played well the second half of the season.
So do you speak to Marcus too every week or?
No, not every week. No, just I text him. I don't like bothering people during season.
Sure.
But after that game, I thought it would be a good time to reach out. He's a great. We were teammates there in Chicago for a year. I think was it 09 or you guys are probably know better than I would. 09 or 08, we drafted him from Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the year I got hurt, so I wasn't in the meetings much. But yeah, I remember him being a good rookie because he was quiet. He was seen and not heard.
I was going to ask you what you remember about him, but yeah, I mean, he wasn't there for very long, but my goodness, has this young man really carried himself in a tremendous fashion and has become one of the best young coaches in all of football.
I mean, in my opinion, he's the face of college football right now. I mean, you watch their games, he's all they show. You look at the sidelines, it's Marcus all the time. It's just, it's amazing how far he's come, and, his descent to the top has been quick. His D coordinator there for a couple of years, and then Coach Kelly left. And one of my favorite videos is when they show him get introduced to the team as the head coach. They went crazy. It was 3 years ago, and then now they're in a national championship. It's been pretty awesome.
How proud are you of your son, Kennedy?
Yeah, he made the right decision. Obviously, he had some good choices, but he wanted to. The thing I like about it was, Marcus challenges almost every guy that goes there. And I think as a competitor, as an athlete, you like being challenged. So when they went to their meetings or whatever, when he offered me, he goes, if you go here, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. And I think as a competitor, you like that, right? And Kennedy chose that. It's paying off for him. But he went in the spring. He left in last January and did spring ball. And then we hardly ever see him anymore. Never comes home. Basically, he's got a job now. So it's been fun, though. It's been fun to be part of it and watch it.
So what is it like for you on game day, sitting in the stands? Like, I know you did it in high school and you watched them and you were very hands-on with that. But what is it like in these big-time college football games, sitting on the edge of your seat and knowing that you have zero control?
Yeah, well, he doesn't play that much. He plays on special teams, so it's not as stressful as it could be if he was actually playing full-time. But, you're rooting for him so hard because, I've been around most of the kids. You meet them after the games. You see them. You talk to them. You just want them to do well. And they do every week. They show up. It's crazy because, you wouldn't know a lot of the guys on their team, and people don't realize how many injuries they've had this year. They've had starters go down all over the place. But the next man up every time just steps up, and those guys make plays. But the games are stressful as hell for me, man. I don't say a lot during the games. I sit there and watch, but it is stressful for me.
Do you ever think about coaching when you got done playing?
No, yes and no. How about that? I know how much our coaches work. That's what I knew, and I knew I didn't want to do that. Looking now as an older guy, removed from the game, maybe with my kids growing up now, I can see doing it. But man, when you first get out, they put in 80, 90 hours a week of work, and their family times during the week does not exist. As players, we go home at 5 o'clock every day. And they're there till midnight or 1 in the morning. I didn't want to do that. It just seemed like a lot to me. And for what, they're making a lot more now than they did back then. But for what they were making, it just didn't seem worth it to me.
You said a little bit ago, Brian, that you think that Marcus Freeman could be the face of college football. If he sat you down and asked your your honest opinion. Would you tell him to stay at Notre Dame and be the coach, not just selfishly because your son's there, but that's a better job than maybe going to the NFL and chasing that dream?
And the Bears, yeah.
He's at the highest point in college football. He's competing for a national championship, and he's only in his third year as a head coach. So I just don't know. I mean, and I heard the Bears are trying to. Is that true? The Bears are talking about maybe trying to interview him or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, how's that pitch going to go? Hey, Marcus, great season. You're the face. You've made it to the face of college football. Great job on the extension. And then they're going to say, okay, here's our offer. We're going to buy your deal off for $30 million, but we want to pay you half of what you're paying now, what you're making now. That's our offer. You want to come coach for us? How are they ever going to pay the guy what he deserves? Or I'm sorry, they could, but they just, in their history, they haven't paid their coaches what they're worth. That's why they get the coordinators. And then once they're a head coach for the Bears, this is just off the recent track record, once the head coach gets fired from the Bears, they go back to being a coordinator somewhere else. So you get a one and done if you go coach there. That's just the record of the last 4 coaches. Lovey excluded from that because he went to be a head coach at Tampa and at Houston. But since then, it's been, head coach here, coordinator, or you're done. That's just the way it goes there. So I would definitely try to get him to stay there. He's in such a great spot. And you look at the way the playoffs are set up now in the future, they could be really good for a long time and get in the playoffs every year.
Do you believe, knowing that you're a former NFL player and outside of the Bears, that he has what it takes to be a good NFL head coach, or does he need more seasoning?
He relates to players. I think at any level, that's a great thing. My son looks up to him so much, and as your kid's leaving high school, going to college for the next 4 years, you want to leave them in good hands, right? You want them to be in good hands with the men that they're going to be around the next 4 years, whether it's their head coach, their D coordinator, or their position coach. You want to know they're in good hands, and you can trust those guys. And he could not be in better hands. I'll tell you that much. Not just with Marcus, but you Coach Golden, his safety coach. They're great guys. But Marcus relates to players. I think he knows how to do that. He's smart football guy. You look at their special teams and what they've done. I don't know how close you guys watch the games, but their special teams have been unbelievable this year. I know Marcus has his hand on that a little bit, and he gives all the credit to the players. Then you look at his interviews, he says everything you want your head coach to say. He stands up for his players when he should, and he takes the blame when he should. That reminds me of Lovey right there. That's Lovey never sold us out in the media, and when things went bad, he was like, "It's my fault." That's what Marcus does.
Yeah. I'm sure you knew a little bit about Notre Dame being here and hearing about it. And I don't know if there was anyone on the team from Notre Dame, but what was your perception of Notre Dame before the recruiting of Kennedy? And what did you learn and now learn to love about Notre Dame now that your son is there and Marcus is coaching him?
It's funny you say that playing with guys from Notre Dame, they're different. I'll tell you that much. They're super smart. They speak different. They're like, it's like talking to a person from an Ivy League, I would say, because they're just smart individuals. And I play with a few guys from ND, but I watched them growing up. Obviously, they're on TV every weekend when I was a kid. And then a good buddy of mine, Avery Doliak, went to school down there. So he always tried to get me to go to the games, and I never would go when I was there. And then now that Kennedy's there, it's just, what a great tradition, and you learn about the Notre Dame network, about how the players always come back. And then, you hear stories of guys who were roommates with the normal guys. My son was they get these people who are not athletes as roommates their freshman year or whatever, and they end up going on working for them. They're like, play their 4 years at Indeed, and they go play 2 years in the NFL, and they're working for their roommate in 3 years who's a CEO somewhere else. It's just, the network is unbelievable. It's just, what a great place. In South Bend, not a lot to do, hard place to get to, but we've really enjoyed the games we've attended there.
How about the football landscape in general as a parent now with NIL and all that is attached to it? It's not what it was when you were in college.
No, I wish it was, right? I wish I could make some money, but yeah, I love NIL. I love that they're getting paid. I just don't like the transfer portal. I don't like that you have to recruit your players every year, right? It's free agency every year in college. Whoever will pay you the most is where you're going to go probably. I can't blame the kids. That's the landscape that the NCAA has created. Yeah. And so why not take advantage of it? Don't necessarily like it, but, you got to get the most bang for your buck while you can, because not everyone's playing in the NFL. But yeah, it's tough because you don't know who's going where every year. I'm sure after the national championship, there'll be some guys leaving Ohio State and Notre Dame going to other schools.
Yeah. Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher joining us, Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. When you look at the Bears, Brian, they're interested in McCarthy. who coached the Cowboys, and I know you were a Cowboy fan as well. I know you don't follow closely, but you also competed against him on defense when he was calling plays for the Packers way back in the day. What is your thoughts on him as a coach, and if he would be the head coach of the Chicago Bears?
I have a ton of respect for Mike McCarthy. I think he's awesome. I think he'd be great for the Bears. I mean, you get stability on offense, a guy who knows how to develop quarterbacks. And by the way, I thought Caleb played great this year. I don't know how it is around Chicago or what they're saying. I thought he was awesome, man. I definitely the right pick. If you put him in a system at the Redskins or at wherever Denver or Bo Nix, he probably does just as well as they do, if not better. Wins-wise, I'm talking about playoff-wise. The kid's a stud. But McCarthy, I think, put him at that next level. You know, he likes to run the ball. I like that. The West Coast offense it works. I think they won the Super Bowl when Aaron was there, correct? In 2010, he was the head coach.
Yep.
They move the ball, man. They just free snap is where that offense is built. I believe. You know, he always puts them in the right position to make the right play. So I think that'd be a great hire. Whether the Bears will pay him or not, that's another story. You know, he's one of those guys they don't normally go after, right? Established guys. Sure. They want to go after coordinators so they can pay him less.
Yeah, we're hoping that with Kevin Warren here, that they're like the word is that expense won't be an issue. We'll believe.
Is Kevin involved in hiring the coach, or is he just doing the stadium? I thought he was hired to get the stadium.
He's heavily involved. Okay.
Yeah. I understood he was just to get the stadium, not worry about the product on the field, just to go out and find our new stadium for us. With everything else, your president and CEO just does the stadium, right? That's what they're doing with him.
Do I detect some sarcasm in your tone?
You're smart, Silvy, man. You picked that up quick.
Because we have been very excited about what we've seen from Ben Johnson, who is the coordinator in Detroit. Because
he's awesome. Oh yeah, everyone is.
So would you, if you would have your druthers, would you rather try and hire the next McVay, the next Shanahan, and then we know he could fail too, give him a chance, or to go for a guy like McCarthy?
Oh man, so here's my thing. What's the expectations there is what I want to know, because Matt Nagy went to the playoffs 2 out of 4 years and got fired. So what are the expectations? I mean, did we have to temper our expectations a little bit, or no. I don't know. It's confusing me because I thought Nagy was a great coach. They thought otherwise, and they fired him 2 out of 4 years playoffs. They're gone. So I just don't know what the expectation. Lovey goes 10-6, fired. So is the expectation Super Bowl or bust? Because that's not possible right now. I don't feel like. But I would stick with Coach McCarthy. If I was doing the hiring, I would give McCarthy a chance. I think he's an established guy, offensive guy. I know Ben Johnson is as well. But I would just, they've gone the route of the coordinator last couple of times, correct?
Yeah.
As a head coach, Coach Fox, obviously not.
Well, you had Eberflus was a coordinator coming from Indy, but
so was Coach Nagy, right?
Yeah,
he was the coordinator.
Yeah, he didn't call plays much.
You know, and it worked with Lovey. He was a pretty damn good head coach, but they fired him after 10-6. So, I don't know. I like McCarthy. I think he'd be a great fit. I feel like he's a hard-nosed dude. He likes to run the football. That's a good success story there in Chicago, to run the football because it's so damn cold.
Yeah, well, I think he checks their boxes too. He's previously been a head coach, so he can help with the culture inside the building, which is something that they were complaining about. He can work with young quarterbacks. So I think my money would be on them being very interested and ultimately probably settling on Mike McCarthy.
And then you got to look at the staff he'll bring in with him, right? He's been around a long time. He's going to have guys that are established who've been around the NFL. You would think that his coordinators would be. I mean, he's the OC, obviously, but they have some good guys around him as well because he's been around so long.
Yeah, I would want Ron Rivera's interviewed. I would love to see if they can match Rivera, and Ron's been your coordinator. Like, how about Ron Rivera's his defensive coordinator?
I was going to ask you guys if they're not interviewing him for the head coach or not.
They interviewed him this weekend, Sunday.
Oh, I love that too. I didn't even think about that. I love that. That'd be great too. Ron's been around. He's got some ties there. Either one of those two would be great. I'm not sure if they can keep Ron after. If Mike would hire him after he's interviewed for the head coaches, I don't know how that works with coaching circles or whatever. Plus, then you come back to the money problem again with how much it would take to keep Ron on defensive staff, and if the Bears are willing to do that.
Yeah. It's such a great point. Like, we've been told that expense or cost won't be an issue going forward, but it has in the past. So, we'll believe it when we see it.
That's right. I hope they do the best thing for the team and the fans, honestly, because They deserve it, man. It's been a long time since they've had some. I mean, obviously they got some good players on that football team, so it'd be nice to have a coach married with their good players and put them to their best use.
I want to ask you one more thing because this has been a sore subject here in town, and it was the locker room culture. And everybody, it seemed, inside that locker room blamed somebody else. Like, oh, it was the head coach's fault, or it was this person's fault. And we always bring up your locker room. And the one thing that we always talked about, we were just talking about it with someone the other day, that when I covered that team, I knew that it was your locker room and it was Olin's locker room. You know, like, and then, like, you guys had your fun, though. Like, you guys would play dodgeball, you would do your thing, but we knew who the leaders were. There were alphas in that locker room. Here, everyone always wanted to blame somebody else. It drove Waddle insane because it was Eberflus's fault. It was the coordinator's fault. It was always someone else's fault. But not a player wanted to stand up and say, look, this is on us and we need to be better. How does that happen, Brian, where a player becomes a leader and takes over the locker room without the help of a coach?
That's a good question. I think you just have it or you don't. Honestly, I think you have those instincts in you or you don't. When I walked into that locker room, I knew Olin was the guy. And there was a couple other guys. Big Cat was there. So it was nice to learn from those guys for my first couple of years. But then I saw how I didn't handle things the same way Olin did. He did them his way, which I loved, by the way. It was very intimidating at some points, but you also knew he was your teammate and he had your back no matter what. In the media, personally, he would tell you something, but in the media, he may say something else.
Right.
And I think if you get guys in the locker room who take blame for things, even if it's not your fault, jump from them. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the media thinks or what the fans think of you. It matters what your teammates and your coaches think. I think once these guys figure that out, and if you're a good coach, you take all the blame anyway, right? If you're at that podium saying it's my fault, and I saw some of that this year that there was coaches not saying that as well. Yes. It wasn't their fault. They were like, oh, well, we coached them to do this. No, my fault. We got to coach them up better. So I think when you get guys to do that, and whether it's your fault or not, say it's your fault. Who cares? You know it's not your fault. Your teammates know it's not your fault, but they also respect you because you took blame for a situation that may not have been your issue.
Yeah. It's great stuff.
Well said.
Hey, congratulations on such a fun ride. I hope you guys win the championship and enjoy every moment, okay?
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, guys. Good talking to y'all.